fanboys and fangirls, it looks like after months and years of Apple trying to find ways to not cave, it looks like there is nowhere to hide, there is no place to run, because the EU passed their legislative bill and it looks like it will affect Apple and everything going forward. And while I still have my reserves and my doubts, I'm here to tell you guys that by 2024, Apple will officially, most likely, go USB-C. Let's talk about it. Alrighty, the first story and the only story for today, the iPhone 15. Now, as you guys know, I have said it many times over the last few years when I cover these longer videos, especially when they're years ahead. I normally do not like to go that far out into the future because I usually like to cover what's relevant now and maybe several months to come. But because the iPhone 15 has become a hot topic, and also because of recent events, I do feel it is worth to talk about because it could affect the possibility of the newer model and the future of Apple and the company going forward. Now, this report comes to us from several reporters, and I will name two of them, Front Page Tech and Mark Gurman. Yeah, I never thought I'd be using them in the same sentence, especially with everything Gurman's done, the big man baby that he is. But he does have a reliable track record, and I do have to give him credit where credit is due, and I do feel it is my obligation to give you guys the most accurate news information as possible, and P.S. Front Page Tech is also there. But according to these reports, yes, the EU have passed their legislative bill that says that all electronic mobile devices or any electronic devices must all now have a single charging unit that is universal, and it must be done by 2024. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, well, how does this affect Apple? Well, here's the thing. You see, Europe, the whole region of Europe, make up about 41 to 50% extra in terms of supply chain, market share, and other customer demands. You see, the United States is just one of the many different regions that Apple is known to try to get into. Well, this is a very big deal because the EU have pretty much made it hard for Apple to keep on using Lightning. Now, I don't want to try to overhype, and I definitely do not want to give you guys any false hope. But I'm gonna say this right now, and I'm gonna say this because this is how I feel throughout the entire duration of this video. While I still have my reserves, while I still don't believe until I see it, the possibility of an iPhone with USB-C has now become even more possible than we've ever thought. And this is because of that legislative bill and what it stands for, all the stipulations, all of the things inside the bill. Now, I have said for many, many months that Apple could bypass this bill by removing the charging port and going in with MagSafe, as MagSafe has a USB Type-C connector and wireless charging using Qi is universal. However, though, after looking over the bill and also looking over the agreement, it needs to support a male to female end for input and output. So it doesn't matter if it's Qi, it has to be a physical connector that can be inputted with a universal charger for all devices. So that's something I wanted to clear up that was in the bill. And for those of you that are in Europe, you know it better than I do, so you guys are already singing your praises. But now let's talk about how this will affect the iPhone 15. Well, based on the bill states that yes, all new electronic devices by the year of 2024, they must support a universal charger, aka USB Type-C, and they have 2 years to complete the transaction and also complete the transition period, and most notably replace all of the products that they currently have. Not just for Apple, but for other companies. But if we're being honest here, the only company that's using a proprietary port is Apple. So in all honesty, if I'm being, transparent here, this bill is more targeted towards Apple. And I could see why, because there are some people that defend the Lightning port, and if you defend the Lightning port, I really don't know what to say to you, so I'm not going to say anything at all. But to those of you that think that this is not for Apple, that this is not for just them alone, look at it this way. You guys have Xiaomi, Oppo, OnePlus, Samsung, Google, Vivo, Motorola, and OnePlus. Every single device uses USB-C, which is the one company that has a proprietary port that makes so much money off of licensing, and most importantly, have managed to make this port integrated into their ecosystem, Apple. Now, I will say that the Lightning port has served its purpose. When it first came out in 2012, it was pretty cool. And it was unique because at the time it was different. But then when USB-C came out, and once we saw what USB-C can do, it just made more sense. And then Apple even began their own transition with putting USB-C on their iPads, MacBooks, and soon, according to Mark Gurman and Front Page Tech, AirPods, MacBooks, and newer iPads will all be transitioning into USB-C, and they will have to do so by 2024, which now leads back into the iPhone 15. I'm just trying to paint the picture before we talk about the iPhone 15, because if I'm being honest, there really isn't much to talk about with regards to that device. And the only thing to really talk about is everything surrounding it and what it could be. And that's the way I want to present this video to you guys. So if you feel like I'm just going on and on and on, I apologize, but you need to know all this stuff before we even get to the iPhone 15. So knowing all that we know now, here's my thoughts. While I still have my reserves and I still have my own criticism and critique of whatever, me personally, I don't like when a government or any European, legislature, whatever, has to step in and tell a company what to do. Even if it is the best interest of the consumer, it shouldn't be their choice. However, though, this is one of those rare instances where I would actually say I am all for this move, because not only would it finally get Apple to switch the Lightning port out and get USB-C in, but it would make so much more sense. Now, there is another area to this argument, and that is the environmental aspect, which Apple has been fighting for years and years, saying that if they were to transition, it would create so much e-waste with Lightning products. Well, here's the thing, Apple. You claim you're all for the environment, but just how much are you really? Because while you've done a great job marketing it and done a great job in your efforts, why are your AirPods still non-recyclable? Why are certain parts of the Apple Watch still not reusable? And most importantly, if I'm being honest here, when the time comes for you to remove Lightning, you realize you could have saved all the trouble of manufacturing and processing Lightning ports and other accessories if you had just switched sooner. So you created your own downfall in that argument. So I'm just putting that out there. But again, back to the iPhone 15, if this happens, it will make the phone better and it will just make life better. So don't look at it as just the iPhone 15, look at it as the entire company of Apple will have to cave to the USB Type-C port because of this bill. Now, could Apple have their loopholes? Could they find their way out of this? Absolutely. Again, I've already stated that could be one way, and who knows. But based on the reports, based on the bill, and based on everything we're hearing right now, guys, I am here to tell you that there is nowhere else to run, there is no place to hide, and there is nothing left for Apple to do except put the port on the iPhone. And I think once they do that, it will finally make the iPhone better. Just remember this, people. If Apple does this, this is not because they want to make their phones better. No, by no means. They're doing this because they are forced to do it. They have no choice. They could have done it sooner, but they didn't. If they wanted to make their phones more Pro and Pro Max, that would have been good. And this would tie into the whole iPhone 15 Ultra lineup and everything. But bottom line, to end off this video, I gotta say, man, this feels like a situation out of a horror movie. There is no place to hide, there is no place to run, Apple, because the iPhones are going to be USB-C. And a win for everybody.